Welcome to Property Guide. Thank you so much for tuning in. We're asking a very, very basic and a very, very important question today. And I'm asking this question as a citizen of the city of Mumbai on behalf of all of the other citizens. And this is a question that we're all asking at this point. Why are homes in this city so far out of reach? Why is it so difficult for us to make homes in the city of Mumbai that are affordable, that the citizens can afford, that the citizens can buy? The normal response to anybody asking, do you have a home in the city of Mumbai, is this is just too expensive. What are we doing wrong? Why can't this city accommodate its own citizens? That's the question we're asking. If you have an opinion, tweet it out. Hashtag Costly Mumbai Homes. To help us answer those questions, Anuj Puri, Chairman and Country Head, JLL India, joins us. Anuj, thank you so much for joining us. Madhav Bhandari, Chief Spokesperson of the BJP in Maharashtra, brings in the government angle. And Boman Irani of Rustomji and Secretary of CREDAI National comes in with the builder, build the builder opinion. Hashtag Costly Mumbai Homes if you have an opinion. Anuj, I'm going to come to you first. This is a question you and I have, tossed about, so many times. Why can't Mumbai make more affordable homes? And the question is simply this. If I have to buy a home today as an average citizen making an average salary, I can't do it anywhere closer than maybe Thane on one side, Vasai Virar on the other, Panvel or New Panvel on the third. Why do I have to travel an hour and a half to get into work every day? What are we doing wrong?
Absolutely, Faye. And, we've discussed this question several times, and it's a very pertinent point. To the local Mumbaiker, it is very pertinent that I can't buy a home in Mumbai. Even if I was to look at on the western suburbs, Goregaon, Kandivali, even Borivali, a two-bedroom apartment is going to cost me somewhere upwards of 2 crores. So it is very difficult to buy apartment in Mumbai. But I think the question that you asked, the answer is in itself there. That why does it take me 1.5 hours or 2 hours to travel from my workplace to get up into a place where there is an affordable home? And that's really what it is about the infrastructure of the city, that because for several years there wasn't investment done in building up the infrastructure in the city, there weren't very large parcels of land that got opened up. Because there weren't those many large parcels of land that got connected and opened up, whatever is available for sale on land is really at a very high price. Now, given that most of the Mumbai city is sort of, locked by the sea, whatever little land that comes up available is very expensive. And today, land represents nearly 80% of the cost of a project. That cost has to come down, and that can only come down if there is more infrastructure that is put in, there are more land parcels that get opened up, and that the commute time from Panvel to, say, a Bandra Kurla is shortened from 1.5 to 2 hours to, say, a half an hour or 45 minutes. That's the only way, Faye. There is no other way that builders need to bring down the price. I don't think so they have enough profit left to bring down the price. There's no way that the construction cost can come down more than what it is already today with the commodity prices having gone down. Yes, there could be a little bit of financing cost coming down, a little bit of home loan rates coming down, but the majority of that cost sits really on the land.
All right, let's get the response from the builder. Boman Irani, tell me this. Now, we know that there's been a wide, call for builders to bring prices down from the RBI governor himself and from the entire banking industry. Just help us understand how you arrive at the price. You have projects from BKC right up till the outer end of Thane where you're building in an entire range of luxury to affordable. Tell us how you arrive at the price of an apartment per square foot. When you're working out the math of how you're going to price that out, tell us what you work into that price.
Say, I think to put it in a nutshell, we as developers today are working on a very simple principle of having a marginal profit on what we do. And I think for the risk associated with this business, 15 to 20% is a fair expectation of profit on a project. I think Anuj has, in a nutshell, put it across to you why the prices are so high. And further to that, Anuj, you can also add the fact that the very basis on which our rules are formulated themselves make it difficult for any approvals to come through in less than 2.5 years time. With 80% of the cost sitting on the land, like Anuj has mentioned, you take a 15 to 20% cost of equity on that, and you can see that the rates go that much higher. Add to this the risk that, there could be a kind of a sudden stoppage of work due to some kind of an issue that is being brought up, and projects then go into a further limbo. Add to this the fact that today any development that takes place in the city of Mumbai pays the highest amount of charges, whether it is in terms of taxes or it is in terms of premiums payable to the ULB. Add to this the fact that most of the developers today are employing some of the most highest quality construction methodology that will allow the normal buildings, which would have normally lasted for 50 to 75 years, to last as much as 100 years. And the fact that every single time a developer meets with another developer, the only thing he's talking about is how and where he can make himself a little more efficient so that the costs are brought down for his end consumer. We're all about volume selling. We're no longer about making a fat profit on any kind of holding. And when I speak about this, I say that there are CREDAI affiliated developers, MCHI CREDAI affiliated developers, and we are all very conscious of the fact that our customer needs to be given a home at an affordable price. But yes, it is also true that we've been reaching out time and again and saying wherever it is that we have shown greater amount of progress, whether it be in Panvel or Vasai Virar on the other side, you've not seen infrastructure catch up with that. Why should it take 1.5 hours? Why not have a sea link road all the way up to Vasai Virar? Why not have a little bridge, not a little bridge, but why not have the infrastructure reach out to Panvel? It is possible to travel within half an hour. And then let me add to that, today moving out of your BKC area at a rush hour takes you anywhere between half an hour to 45 minutes. So definitely, the thrust has to be on infrastructure becoming better for the city of Mumbai and for its residents, thereby allowing them to be able to choose a home of their choice. Someone like me would also like to live in a place with a lot of open areas for my children to play, and I might itself take on a location that seems to be a little far away but is very, very accessible. Developers have made every other infrastructure available, whether it is schools, hospitals, whether it is places of worship or work in those areas. But Mumbai still continues to be the island city, and BKC and its other commercial hubs continue to drive maximum traffic into the city. And for this we need to improve rail, we need to improve metro, we need to improve road network and connectivity to the city.
All right. So see, it looks like two major problems for me. One is that there isn't enough infrastructure to help us travel from the outside of the city or the outskirts of the city to where we actually work. And secondly, we just seem to have failed in the area of job creation anywhere else other than central Mumbai. Why don't we have more jobs in the suburbs that we're talking about, in Panvel, in Thane, in Vasai Virar? Madhav Bhandari, I want to ask you this question. I took a look at the prices in Mumbai. Anything priced less than 10,000 rupees a square foot. 10,000 rupees a square foot for 1,000 square feet comes up to a little over 1 crore rupees. Anything less than 10,000 rupees a square foot, this is where I have to go. Naigaon, Virar, Narasupara, Vasai, Kalyan, Meera Road, Bayandar. That's nowhere near any of our places of work. We need infrastructure. We need we need more encouragement. We need ease of doing business so we can come in and out of the city, and we need job creation in other parts of the city other than central Mumbai. Tell us what the government is doing right now to ease out all of those things and make homes in Mumbai more affordable.
There are 2-3 issues we are clubbing together in this debate. Prices of housing industry in Mumbai is a different thing. Infrastructure is one thing, and employment generation is another thing. These are all clubbed together, it's okay, but the basic question remains that why these prices of houses in Mumbai are so exorbitant, so high. And I think these prices, they are not realistic prices. And why I think so, I will tell you that we are talking of recession, we are talking of slowdown for last 5 years. And the people from industry are saying that the people are not coming to purchase the homes, they are not purchasing flats. Still in last 5 years, I had not seen any downward process in this costing of houses in Mumbai. So these people can hold up for these 5 years, they can still hold up for a few more years. They have padded up the prices so exorbitantly. That's why these prices are so high. The industry has to think over it, how more they want to padding these prices, and because of this habit, the prices are so much high. Infrastructure is definitely, we have to develop the infrastructure.
Okay, all right. Let's get a response from Boman Irani here. But before we do that, Mr. Madhav Bhandari, I'd like to respectfully disagree with you. Infrastructure and job creation have a very, very clear impact on prices of real estate. It, that is a proven fact. It would be wrong to say we can't mix the two. But Boman Irani, the government turning around and saying you've padded up the prices, which is why they're so high. Do you have a response to that?
Say, I think, I'd submit to Mr. Bhandari and be very happy to share with him costings of projects as such. I'm sure he's aware of the cost of construction. He's also aware, if he calls for a chart from the ULBs that are there, whether it's Mumbai or Thane, as to what are the premiums being paid by developers, and whether he takes it from MHADA, where the MHADA redevelopments go. Plus he, I'm sure, is also aware of the fact that the moment a project has to be started, the amounts are paid upfront. When these amounts are paid upfront, then they carry, like I mentioned to you, 15 to 20% in terms of cost of money year on year. Then there are the entire approval processes that go through. Then there is the entire, customer facing, development that we take care of. Basically, if I can just give you CREDAI study, 38 rupees out of every 100 rupees that comes from a consumer's pocket towards purchase of his home is going towards taxes, direct and indirect, including the cost of the ULB. In the remaining 62 rupees, the developer is supposed to buy his land, bear his interest costs, go ahead and construct over there, and go ahead and make a profit, plus create employment for so many people in that 62 rupees. So I'm sure, Mr. Bhandari, if you will look at this, you will change your mind and you will come to it. And further, if you just picked up the financial reports of any of the listed entities that you have, and there are quite a few in Mumbai itself today, sir, you will be able to see for yourself, without having this doubt. And I'll be very happy if the government calls on us for a one-on-one interaction to even understand how the pricing, which Faye put across to me as a question. I'm sure we'll be happy as developers, as MCHI CREDAI, to come to you and show you the exact way that we go around with the costing. And I'm sure, sir, you'll also agree that a 15 to 20% profit is not something that is unreasonable in an industry that carries all the kind of risks that we carry. And after that, sir, if you did deem it fit and proper, you would be able to also guide us as to what we can do to be able to bring down the prices for a consumer. I once again repeat, sir, we are all interested in seeing volume businesses. We are all interested in seeing that our consumer continues to benefit in terms of the prices. Sir, we've been reaching out to the government time and again, whether it be for your ready reckoner rates.
Definitely,
No, Mr. Bhandari, let's do this now. Let's try and make this a constructive conversation. If Boman says that the industry is willing to have a meeting with you to actually show you how the costing is working so you can understand it for yourself, is the government willing to take up this entire issue? Because I'll tell you as a citizen, it concerns me, it bothers me on a daily basis. Is the government willing to sit down with the industry and find a solution to this entire pricing problem? Find a way in which we can make homes in Mumbai more affordable? Is that a commitment I can take from you today?
Definitely, we are very much interested, and I definitely know that these bodies had a few meetings with the government. They have meetings with the Chief Minister also. And we are pressing, as a party, we are pressing for a regulatory authority for this sector, like MERC, or which there is one regulatory authority in water sector. We need a regulatory authority for the housing sector also, because it is a very big industry, it is a very growing industry, and it is going to be there for a few centuries. So we need a regulatory authority which can work on the prices, which can work on the economics of this industry. So it is a need of the hour.
The industry and the government there need to sit down and work together and find a way to make homes more affordable for you and me as citizens of this city. If you have an opinion, tweet it out, #costly Mumbai homes. We're going to come back after the break and find more solutions for affordable housing in Mumbai. That's on the other side. Don't go anywhere. What is the government doing to help us buy homes in Mumbai, to make homes more affordable? On an average, if you want to buy a home in Mumbai, you're paying upwards of 2 crore rupees. That's an average EMI of between 1.6 and 1.8 lakh rupees every month. Which of us can afford that? That's the question we're asking. How can the average citizen in Mumbai with an average median salary afford to buy a home in this city? Anuj, I'm going to come back to you to an earlier point. One is peripheral business districts that we absolutely need in the city to decongest the fact that all business seems to be happening in the center of the city. Secondly, while the government can work with industry, we also have bodies like MADA that's constructing affordable housing but just not able to keep up with demand. What solutions could there possibly be to keep up with the kind of demand we have for that bracket of 20 to 60 lakh rupees where people need homes?
So both the points, Faye, and on the first one, there are peripheral business districts that have now started to emerge. So New Bombay has really come up as a great IT destination. We're seeing a number of BPO setups coming up there for the banks. Usually they would go into Chennai or Pune. We're seeing a lot of the multinational banks taking up large spaces in the New Mumbai area. And that's because the residential prices are more economical, the office rentals are a lot more economical, and there is a very nice social infrastructure that has been built within that area. Now, if a similar approach can be done in other areas, for example, in Panvel, where there could be a social infrastructure that is set up, you will see the industries move in there as well. And once the industries move in there, people are very happy to work in there. People are very happy to live there. They don't necessarily want to come into central parts of Mumbai. But, you know, it's our responsibility to provide a social fabric infrastructure, which usually comes through once there is a proper infrastructure, physical infrastructure put in place. But I am quite okay with that, Faye, that I do believe you're going to see more peripheral business districts come up, and I think the city will start to spread. I do want to go back to Mr. Bhandari for a minute on the point that he makes, because it's a very valid point that he makes, that you know, the prices were padded up. I think it is true. What he is saying is that the prices were padded up, but I can tell you as an industry observer, I think since 2012, the developers have really brought down the price to the extent that they could. At this moment in time, if they were to look at the way that the prices are constructed, there is absolutely very little margin left. In many cases, perhaps there is no margin left even after paying the financial costs. So I think if the government can sit down with the developer community and really understand, because it is true what the government is saying from a perspective which was 2 or 3 years ago, perhaps not today. So I think it's an important point and an important promise that you take, Faye, is because the consumer is going to benefit if both the government and the private body developers sit down. It is also important for the developers to understand that there should be a regulator that comes in. If you were to speak with Boman, he will say, yes, the regulator should come in, because everybody wants this to become a lot more organized and a lot more easier for the consumer to come in and start to play.
All right.
So the second question that you asked was on...
As a consumer and as a citizen, as a consumer and a citizen myself, I'm completely thrilled at the idea of a regulator in this industry, someone who will actually put up, from what we understand, the plans, put up on their website, builders who actually got their permissions, if there are any complaints against certain builders, so we can actually make informed choices. Boman, if I remember correctly, the industry had one reservation when it came to, you know, a regulator, the fact that the regulator should also regulate the speed at which permissions are handed out. What sort of headway have you made in those conversations? Are you comfortable with a regulator right now? Is the regulator the answer to all of our questions?
There is no one single answer to all the questions, Faye. But let me just tell you, MCHI, CREDAI and CREDAI standpoint has been that we are very happy to have a regulator in the business, but it's very important also that the government does this in a structured manner. Imagine one fine day saying, this is your regulator, and opening up the floodgates. You know, the same thing that has happened so many times before will happen. There'll be a huge deluge of proposals being put up out there. So many processes would not have been envisaged or even understood in advance, and what will lead to thereafter will be total commotion. right? So the way to do it, according to us, is A, include all four, players of this industry, the developer definitely, the financial institutions, the government very, very importantly, and of course the consumer itself, because there are times that we have seen the consumer, I'm not saying all of them, but a certain number of them, for whatever reasons, do not or are not able to live up to the commitments that they've made, and they usually then appeal to so many other different forums. So there should be a tie-in for them also. Secondly, we've said that you can do this as a test launch or as a small, pocket in which you take this up, run it properly for about 3 to 6 months, after which you'll have all the kind of, roadblocks that could appear on an all-India scale, and then bring that down. We've continuously said that we at MCHI CREDAI and we at CREDAI have already got a grievance redressal cell in which we are addressing most of our consumers' grievances with developers. Very importantly, we understand both sides of the issue. We sit as an impartial panel, and you'll be happy to note that almost 90% to 92% of all mediation cases that come to us are resolved extremely well, and we welcome more and more of our consumers to approach us.
All right. This is a completely separate topic and a separate debate there of an impartial panel that consists entirely of developers. But Mr. Bhandari, would you respond to Boman Irani's comments on the regulator and how the regulator should be brought in? Is there enough conversation happening between government and industry to make sure that this regulator takes a step in the right direction?
The regulator works for the transparency of the system and controlling the prices. The mediation is a different thing. Regulator is not meant for mediation. Regulator is meant for controlling the prices. Regulator is meant for speed up the process of licenses and everything. So our government is working on ease of business. We are trying to cut down the permits and licenses. We are trying to speed up the process. And secondly, we have to understand that MMRDA came into effect. Actually, the concept of the MMRDA was meant for satellite cities of Mumbai, which will help to develop the infrastructure and which will help to enhance the business. But in last 15 years, we had drifted away from the original concept, we had drifted away from the goal, and we concentrated everything in the Mumbai. Now we are trying to decentralize the things. We are trying to decentralize the industrial growth of Maharashtra. We are trying to arrest the process of migration from rural Maharashtra. And this is a complex issues. They have to be tackled, handled for next 2-3 years. After that only, we can get some concrete answers.
We appreciate the fact that it is a very complex issue, Mr. Bhandari. I just want to bring you back to one thing you said. You said the regulator will control prices. And that I find very interesting given the topic we are discussing today. Can you tell us how this regulator will control prices?
See, in MERC, as I said that, like MERC, we need a regulator for housing sector. In this year, MERC had brought down the prices for electricity in Maharashtra. They had turned down the price hike many times. Every time when the sector asked for price hike, the MERC had controlled it, MERC had regulated it. And in the same way, MERC can define the prices, MERC can check the economics of the project, MERC can tell that what's wrong and what's correct. And with that approach, with that transparency, there will be some control in the prices. And secondly, I will tell you, this, nobody will talk about it, but as a layman, I will tell you that a big sector of this housing industry, they tend to lift the finances from private sector, private parties, and they are paying huge amount in debts. They are lifting money, say about 3%, 5% per month, and with that amount, they are loading all that amount on the consumer, which is not fair. So they have also checked their practices. They have to control their financial practices. They have to adopt some financial discipline, and the financial discipline can bring down the prices.
All right, both of our other panelists, please respond to that. Boman Irani, price control and financial discipline from a regulator. Is that something you're prepared for?
I think basically Mr. Bhandari is absolutely right in the fact that there should be a stoppage of taking money from private sources. Towards this, Mr. Bhandari will be happy to note we've been reaching out to the FM's office and continuously saying that real estate should get money, the developer should get money for purchase of land. There can be regulations for that, it can be regulated, but this source of capital, which is the cheapest source of capital, should be available from banks to the developers directly so that land purchases can be made. You'll also be happy to note that we've been continuously working with the government, and I should say over here, the Chief Minister personally has also taken interest in this, and something as simple as the ease of doing business is being thought of, wherein the number of approvals can come down. Faye, you have to understand that an overall, getting together of so many different practices is what will bring rates down. There is no simple formula. I don't think a regulator by himself can go ahead and, get the prices down without, because what happens in MERC, etc., there are a limited number of providers of electricity, whereas in the development field, CREDAI alone has 11,500 members, and I can say there must be more than 50,000 odd developers in the country. So basically regulating all of them to be able to bring the prices down might be a huge ask, which is not possible.
What Mr. Bhandari is talking about is fiscal discipline here, and he's talking about a regulator who will actually, approve price rises, if I understand correctly. Anuj, is that something that the industry is prepared for? Do you think that would be a fair way to go ahead and bring down prices in the city?
So Faye, I had not heard about the regulator interfering with the prices. I had heard that the regulator was going to be there to make sure that there was prudence, whatever was being promised to the consumer, that was what was being delivered within the time frame that it was being suggested, and that the developer had full approvals. I wasn't aware that the regulator was going to be empowered to make a decision on the prices of the product. I'm not so sure, in a free economy as India, where we're moving to making it even more free and liberal, that we would have a regulator who's going to be controlling the price of houses. I do, however, agree with Mr. Bhandari on one thing, that the regulator should also impose physical discipline, and I think that has been very well documented, where it has been said that a part of the proceeds that come in through installments from the purchaser is going to be escrowed into an account which will be utilized towards construction of the building. To that extent, I do understand and appreciate a regulator having a control over the fiscal discipline, but I'm not so sure. As I said, I've heard it for the first time, the regulator having the authority to control the end price of the product and perhaps even go beyond that on governance.
All right, so let's just get one more confirmation then. Mr. Bhandari, if we get this very clearly from you, if you understand what you're saying to us right now, is that the Maharashtra government is contemplating a regulator who will have the ability and who will be empowered to make decisions on the pricing of the final product of homes that builders are building right now. Is that correct?
See, regulatory authority is a part and parcel of liberal and free economy. It is not a new thing, or it is not a socialist concept. It is a concept which helps to free business, which helps to transparency in the business. So regulatory authority is not an entity which will control or everything. It is not a new government. It is not another government. It is a non-governmental body. And I said that whether the government is contemplating for such body or not, this is apart. But as my party, as activists, we are pressing for such a regulatory authority which will look in the finances, or which will look in the transparency of this sector, and it is very much needed, it is very much necessary, because there is no transparency, there is no fiscal discipline, and that's why this sector is suffering so much.
All right. So what you're saying is that your party is pushing for a regulator who will look into the financial and the fiscal discipline of the real estate sector. But if I take you back to what you said not too long ago on this very show, you said just like the electricity generating sector or the power generating sector has to seek approvals every time it hikes rates, the real estate industry needs a regulator with the same powers. Is that correct? Is that something your party is also pushing for?
Yes, correct. You see, we have regulators in electricity, we have regulators in power sector, we have regulators in water sector, we have regulators in some way in industrial sector also. So why not regulators in the housing industry?
Boman Irani, come in and respond to that. Why not a regulator in the housing industry that actually approves a price rise every time you want to increase your prices as a builder? We're talking about clear price control at this point that Mr. Madhav Bhandari tells us his party is pushing for. What's your response?
I think Anuj has put it very, very clearly to you. In a free market economy and with land rates being what they are and government approval process being what they are, I think what has to be regulated is only the transparency aspect of it, which says that what a developer states in his brochure, in his agreement, is what will be provided to the consumer, and the consumer should not get cheated anywhere along the line. As far as the part about prices, etc. is concerned, I think it's an extremely undoable thing at this moment in time, and you know, a lot more. I think it would take a lot of more initiatives from the government, including giving land to the developer at a fixed price to be able to allow him to kind of, you know, build at a particular cost and then be able to give it to his consumer at a particular cost. Otherwise, it does not become a possibility. It's not even the realm of possibility at this moment in time.
Mr. Madhav Bhandari, your suggestion is not even in the realm of possibility unless you're willing to bring down taxes, to regulate the price of land, to regulate the speed at which permissions are given. Is that something that you're pushing for as well?
See, one thing is very much clear that the players of this industries, player of this sector, they are not willing for a transparency. Whether they are willing for a regulation, that is also a questionable thing. They are putting an entire onus on the government, which is not true. Of course, government has a major role to play in this matter, and government will have to play that role. But still then, after government role, there is a big role for developers, there is a big role for players of this industry, and they have to come to the terms, and they have also come to, they have to be transparent. They have to deal transparently, and both sectors, government and developers, they can together bring down the prices. They can together give an affordable home to the common man in this city.
Mr. Madhav Bhandari, I want to ask you another very quick question because we're running out of time, and I want to ask you simply this. The government body of MADA that's supposed to be constructing affordable homes in the city of Mumbai can barely manage to meet the demand that it has. Every time MADA opens up applications, its applications runs into tens of thousands, and it hands out close to 800 homes a year. What's going on with MADA? Is that something that the government is looking at very closely to find out how that system can be improved in order to meet the demand that we're getting in that space?
Right. We are looking at it, and what you have asked and what you have stated, that is very correct. The MADA will have to be work very hard, and they have to meet the demand. That's true. But government has some constraints with finances. So there are many problems, and we are looking at these problems. We are trying to find out solutions. We tried with earlier government tried with SRA. Actually, SRA was our concept in our 1995 government. But in last 15 years, SRA also had moved in a very different way. So there is a lot of to do to correct the course, and much more to do in this course correction.
Well, if we do have an industry that's willing to work and sit down with the government, and a government that wants to fix the problem, why aren't we looking at a PPP solution, Mr. Madhav Bhandari?
No, we are ready for it. Government is ready for a discussion with industry, and as I said earlier, there were few rounds with these bodies, and still we are ready for dialogue. We are ready to accept any good proposal, good solution. And PPP is not an issue which has been ruled out. PPP is there, always there.
All right, so PP is always an issue. We unfortunately for the question of bringing down house prices for you and me as customers. We haven't really found one flat solution, but we have gotten all the members of the panel to agree that they will sit together and they will try and work out a solution. Mr. Madhav Bhandari, can I come back to you in about 3 or 4 weeks? Will you give me an update on the conversation that you plan to have with the industry on bringing down the prices of homes for us in Mumbai?
Sure.
All right, Boman Irani, Anuj Puri, 3-4 weeks, we'll come back to this very panel. We'll get an update from the government and from CREDAI, from the industry, on what work has been done, what progress has been made to bring down prices of homes in Mumbai and make them more affordable for you and me. But a very, very interesting takeaway that the government is considering, or the BJP party at least, is pushing for a regulator for the real estate industry that will control prices. That's a story we're going to keep a very close eye for you on this channel. Thank you so much for watching.